Hello. The topic of this video is political parties. Political parties are discussed in the second half of chapter 7 in your reading, so please make sure you've read that chapter for this week. I just wanted to talk a couple things about political parties. So political parties have existed almost since the beginning of our republic. George Washington was not actually a member of a political party, but he's oftentimes identified as a Federalist. The Federalists were one of our original parties. And so in chapter 7, you'll kind of see a history of the parties. So make sure you kind of read through that to see how our two major parties came into existence. The modern day Democratic Party was one of the two original parties in the country. And then the modern day Republican Party was established in the middle of the 19th century, in the 1850s. And it was the party that Abraham Lincoln was a member of, and that has evolved into the party that is led today by Donald Trump. The Democrats, of course, most recently were led by Barack Obama. And so political parties have existed throughout our history. The question is, are they good or not? Some people think that political parties are a bad thing for our democracy because it reduces our political process to kind of two points of view. And some people argue that they're independent and they don't want to be limited to the two parties. But there are some values to having a two-party system. It certainly does simplify the choices for voters. And the parties do stand for something. The Democrats represent the more progressive or liberal side of the political ideology scale, and Republicans today represent the more conservative or the right end of the ideological scale. In terms of why we have a two-party system, it is not required by law. In fact, political parties are not mentioned in the Constitution. But we have, throughout our history, had a two-party system. It is not an accident. It is a feature of how we do elections. We have what are called a winner-take-all elections, where the first place candidate who comes in, the candidate who comes in first place wins the office, and anybody running second or third place doesn't get anything. That's, for example, how we elect our members of Congress. So in election years, when we're voting for House members or senators, we vote for one person, and the person who wins the most votes wins the election. Now, some countries have a system where it's more proportional, so the first place candidate gets something, the second place candidate gets something, and maybe even the third place candidate gets something. And usually in those countries, you're actually voting more by party than you are by candidate. But you can get something for coming in second or third place, but we don't do that in this country. It is first place gets everything, second place nothing at all, and so that kind of reinforces the two-party system because minor parties don't see a lot of incentive to compete if they're not going to get anything for coming in second or third place. Another issue that comes up in our political system is the fact that we have the Electoral College for choosing the president, and without going into a lot of detail on that, it is whoever wins the most votes in a state wins all of that state's electoral votes. So it's another example of winner take all. And minor parties, again, don't see the value in competing generally in the electoral college since they won't get anything unless they come in first place in a state. And then they have to win enough states to get to 270 electoral votes, which is the minimum you need to win. One other reason for our two-party system is the fact that states do make it very difficult to get on the ballot. If you're not a major party, and states actually run the election process, so it is not easy for third or minor parties to get on the ballot. Now again, there are some minor parties that do exist. The Green Party is one that's run candidates in recent years, Libertarians, and they do win some votes, but again, because of the way our political system is set up, it's very difficult for them to actually win public office. So in any event, just wanted to discuss parties a little bit. Again, please make sure you read chapter 7, and if you have any questions, please email me. All right, have a great week. Thanks.